Professing love versus practicing love. Two very different things. Welcome to this video. I'm Tyler Simone and you are watching Reading in Black. Before I get started with my review of Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection, I just want to say thank you to all of my new subscribers. Thank you to my old subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you and I'm so happy that everybody is enjoying the content so far. That makes me so happy. I don't know what your books look like while you're reading, but mine always turn into something like this. So this is The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. And I really liked the way this book was written. Some self-help books kind of just throw information at you and there is no relating back to the author's life. And Brene Brown, she preaches about vulnerability and being authentic. She practices what she preaches because I felt like in the book, the way she wrote it, she definitely included all of her research and her findings, but she also interwove her personal life and how it all correlates together. So I really appreciated that about this book. So why did I choose this book? A little bit of background on Brene. She is a researcher that observes human behavior so that she can identify and name the subtle connections, relationships, and patterns that help us make meaning of our thoughts, behaviors, and feelings. I came across one of Brene Brown's TED Talks on YouTube a while back. It's called The Power of Vulnerability. And for one, I love the topic of vulnerability. People don't talk about it that often, but that hooked me. And then while watching the video, the way she was talking about vulnerability, it was just so clear to me and I understood it really well. So I'm thinking maybe she writes books. She studies the patterns present in human beings. And for a lot of her career, she studied really difficult emotions like shame and vulnerability and fear. And in the book, she shares what she found during those studies, obviously, but she also really focuses on the people that she found that actually live wholehearted lives. And she goes into what wholehearted living is. Wholehearted living is about engaging in our lives from a place of worthiness and cultivating courage, compassion, and connection. The willingness to tell our stories, feel the pain of others, and stay genuinely connected in this disconnected world. And it just made me think of my own view of the world and all of the negative things that happen in the world. I think that a lot of people lack compassion. And what I took away from the definition of living with a whole heart is to be okay with the fact that you're not perfect. So it's recognizing that you're not perfect, but not harping on the fact that you're not perfect. It's just recognizing that you're not perfect and accepting that that's just how you are and then moving on with your life. And then also being vulnerable, because being vulnerable allows you to love and it allows you to love yourself more, which in turn allows you to love other people more. It's all connected. While going back through this book trying to figure out what my favorite chapters were, it was really hard to choose because every chapter was good. But my favorites were Courage, Compassion, and Connection, The Gifts of Imperfection, which it goes more in depth about what courage, compassion, and connection really are. Exploring the Power of Love, Belonging, and Being Enough. Love that one because she talked about what love is. She gave us a definition of love. She talked about how we don't talk about what love means as often as we should. She talks about the difference between practicing love and professing love, which is very interesting. It made me look at love very different in a good way. Cultivating authenticity, one of my favorite subjects, authenticity. So I love that she started off with a chapter dedicated to courage, compassion, and connection because those are the gifts of imperfection according to her. So this chapter starts off saying, practicing courage, compassion, and connection in our daily lives is how we cultivate worthiness. So throughout this book, and I love that she does this, she reminds us that it's practice and that you're not going to wake up one day and just be this compassionate person. You're not going to just wake up and be this courageous person. It's a choice. You have to wake up every day and choose to be that way. I personally think that if more people in the world were open to being compassionate and open to understanding and listening to other people that may not look like them, we would all be in a better place. But clearly that's too much to ask for. I don't know. She describes courage as having the courage to speak honestly and openly about who we are, about what we're feeling, and about our experiences, good or bad. And she went into how, for some reason, the definition of courage has been spun into us thinking it means that you are a hero. And when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, anytime I think about somebody being courageous, it's because I think of them as being some sort of hero, like saving the day type of thing. But really, she says that having courage is just having the courage, being brave enough to just be yourself and to be open about how you feel about certain things and to just be open about who you are in general. That is having courage. After reading this book, I realized that being vulnerable is pretty much the key to everything. Because if I relate this back to my life, I connect the most with people when I'm being open and honest. I think that at this point, we probably have all heard that you can't love anybody unless you love yourself. And that comes up in this book. But she also says that the more self-acceptance that you have for yourself, the more acceptance you have of others, which leads to being more compassionate towards others. So during the same chapter where she's breaking down the gifts of imperfections, she goes into boundaries and holding people accountable, which was kind of shocking. Not shocking, I just didn't expect her to go into it. But once she started diving into it, things started making sense for me. She says that when we fail to set boundaries and hold people accountable, we feel used and mistreated. This is why we sometimes attack who they are. So if someone is doing something to piss you off, you need to, yes, confront them about it, but talk to them about what behavior pissed you off exactly. Don't get on their character. Don't put them down. Don't put their character down. That's what I learned. Like, that is very important. Let's get into one of my favorite chapters. This chapter was all about love and belonging and fitting in. And I found it really, really interesting. I walked away looking at things differently. I really did. Brene says that if we want to fully experience love and belonging, we must believe that we are worthy of love and belonging. I loved that she went into what belonging is. She says that belonging is when you're embraced for who you truly are, and the difference between belonging and fitting in is huge. So fitting in is changing who you are to fit in to a certain group or to be looked at in a certain way. I think she gave two really great examples of groups that are created because people just want to fit in. Gangs and then gossip. And gossip meaning maybe, you know, that group in high school that's always talking about people and bullying people. Those two made perfect sense. I think that people want to fit in so bad that they're willing to change who they are to feel like they belong, and that is not necessarily belonging. If you join a group and you've changed yourself to fit into that group, you don't belong there. You know what I mean? She says that when we spend a lifetime trying to distance ourselves from the parts of our lives that don't fit with who we think we're supposed to be, we stand outside of our story. You're not living your life and your truth if you are pretending to be someone that you're not. When you don't know your worth, you're constantly hustling for it, performing, perfecting, and pleasing. This made me think about Instagram. It made me think about Instagram right away. I think that a lot of people are on Instagram doing things that they wouldn't necessarily normally do, but they are trying to portray someone that they're not, and they don't believe that they are necessarily worthy of, it could be anything, of love, or I don't know. They're putting on a performance. They are trying to please an audience. They are portraying someone that they're not. And in turn, those are usually really unhappy people. And then she gets into the definition of love. And this is where I just was all in. Love is something that we nurture and grow, a connection that can only be cultivated between two people when it exists within each one of them. We can only love others as much as we love ourselves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, sums it up. But there is a difference between someone just saying I love you and then practicing love. And she brings that up. Professing love versus practicing love. two very different things. Someone can say, I love you, I love you, I love you all day long, but be abusive and be disrespectful and cheat on you, all of those things. They're not doing both, therefore it's not gonna work. But when you're practicing love, you are being patient, you are being open, you are being honest. I agreed with her when she said that before doing this research, she thought that you were either authentic or you were not authentic. She thought that it was just something that some people had that other people didn't have. And I've always felt that way too. I thought that the people that are just really honest, that own who they are, those are just authentic people, and that there just are people out there who are not as authentic. That is not true. Authenticity is also a choice. You have to choose every single day whether or not you are going to be authentic. There's risk involved in putting your true self out in the world, but I believe there's even more risk in hiding yourself and your gifts from the world. And I loved that. I highlighted it. I had to. It's so good. I think that there's risk in putting your honest, vulnerable self out into the world, whether that is just sharing your thoughts. There's risk in that. It's a scary thing. But it's even worse to hide your true self and to portray someone that you're not. It's worse to do things constantly to please other people. It's almost just easier just to be yourself, you know? All in all, would I recommend this book? Absolutely. It's not that long. It's about 130 pages, so it's a really good, quick read. And there's literally a chapter for almost everything you need when it comes to working on just being a better person in general. That completes today's book review. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around to the end of the video. I hope that some of you guys find this book interesting. I know you've expressed interest in wanting to get more into self-help books, and I think this would be the perfect start. Before you go, make sure to subscribe and leave me a comment. Let me know if you're going to be buying this book or not, and follow at reading.in.black on Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.